Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, April 15th, all the way through to Sunday, April 21st of 2019. And this week we have a powerful full moon in Libra brewing. It's the second in a series of 2 full moons in Libra, which is kind of rare. I don't think it's technically a blue moon. A blue moon is when you have 2 full moons in the same calendar month. Which isn't really a thing because the Gregorian calendar is based off of nothing. But that's beside the point. This is still a significant thing. It's very uncommon to have 2 full moons in succession in the same sign. It does happen, but it can only happen when you have the first full moon at 0 or 1 degree in that sign, and you have the second full moon at the very end degree, so at like 29 degrees in that sign. And so that's what we're experiencing. So we have 2 full moons in the sign of Libra. And the first one that we had was actually at the time of the equinox. And so it was kind of like a new beginning and a culmination point all at once. It was kind of a strange combination of energies. This time around, it's truly a culmination point, an ending, a letting go, a release, so that way we can move forward into something new. And so this full moon in Libra is going to be very, very powerful. And this is coming exact on Friday. But before we even get into that, we have a couple of different alignments that are happening at the start of this week that are just as relevant and that need to be spoken about. So we have, first off, Venus coming into square with Jupiter. Venus will be in the sign of Aquarius, squaring Jupiter in in Pisces, squaring Jupiter in Sagittarius. And so, and I put this in the wrong little thing on my, I know that Venus is in Pisces, obviously. Okay. So I make these little hand-drawn charts that I flip around. I'm going to get a really nice one soon. My friend Ksenia, who I'm going to be doing another interview with on my channel this weekend, makes these really beautiful astrology wheels that you can kind of turn them as you go through, so you can put it, you can see it if you go to her channel. She always uses them, but she makes them and sells them, and you can like turn the wheel with the astrology as you're talking about it for each sign. And so I'm definitely going to order one of those, but it's going to be coming all the way from Australia, so it might be a little while. And in the meantime, I have my little half-baked, poorly drawn astrology wheel. Anyway, so the energy is going to be with Venus, which is in the idealistic sign of Pisces, and it's going to be coming into a square with Jupiter in Sagittarius, which is another expansive, idealistic sort of sign, right? And we're talking about Jupiter, which is inflated optimism when it's in square with something else, right? And so when we look at Venus square Jupiter in these aspects, what I see here is potentially people expecting way too much out of their relationships, having very idealistic, very compassionate and loving viewpoints when it comes to the people that they interact with and that they care about most. But maybe the reality of these relationships and the situations that come up in relationship this week might not live up to your expectations. This is also a very lackadaisical, indulgent sort of energy where people are more prone to overeating, being lazy, relaxing a little too much to the point where they may negate their responsibilities, and it can cause a little bit of a mess. On the flip side, this does cause us to feel much better about our relationships. This is really great for enhancing beauty and material possessions, although there is a danger of overspending, right? When we're talking about a Jupiter square, we're talking about overdoing something, overexpanding on something. So we might be overexpanding on enjoying and indulging in sensory pleasures. We might be overexpanding on our budget and buying something really luxurious and beautiful because, it's a beautiful piece of artwork, or it has some sort of spiritual or philosophical connection or significance in our lives. And so we might kind of overspend in those areas given the association with Venus and with Jupiter. One of the other things that's been going on that we kind of need to address a little bit is that this Jupiter-Neptune square has been going on all year long, and it's not exact right now, but it's being highlighted. Anytime something is happening with Jupiter or with Neptune throughout the year, it is highlighting the energy of the Jupiter-Neptune square. And so we've had Mercury back and forth over Neptune. We had Jupiter stationing last week to go retrograde, and now we have this Venus square to Jupiter. And so one of the things that Robert and I talked about, Robert Phoenix and I, in a lot of our forecast videos over the course this past year, and especially back when we did our astronavigation for 2019, back in October of last year, we were talking about, first off, government becoming more oppressive and really, tightening the reins and bearing down on us. And we are seeing that, absolutely. But the other thing we were talking about was the vaccine thing just exploding with Jupiter and Neptune in square. And we're seeing that right now. And so we might see more of that in the media this week. Just like last week with Jupiter stationing, it just exploded at the same time that we had Pluto, the south node, Saturn, coming into this conjunction, being squared by the sun. So that was being highlighted as well, which is government overreach, government oppression, right? Tightening the reins, making a show of it too with the sun, right? Wanting to make an example of people, Julian Assange being arrested, and that being a whole big public, scenario. There's a lot going on there. I really wish we would have done my video with Robert this month. Actually, I was in the middle of a move and we kept trying to do it, and on my end, it wasn't working. So I do apologize for that, but we'll be back next week and we'll discuss all of the things that have been going on. But so on a more personal level, though, this can bring this sort of inflated sense of optimism and idealism in relationships. And then when we move into Tuesday, we actually have Mercury finally leaving the sign of Pisces. Mercury's been in Pisces forever now because it's been in retrograde back and forth in the sign of Pisces. And when Mercury's in Pisces, our minds think in ways that are much more creative, intuitive, much more compassionate, loving, interconnected, but it's also difficult to think about things on a logical, rational, reasonable level, and it makes us much more prone to deception, and we can see much more deception, when it comes to our communications with other people and in the media too, because communication in the media is ruled by Mercury as well, and so people are going to be more gullible and more prone to just eating things up and just abiding by what they hear, and they might have a more idealistic sort of viewpoint of the people that they're engaging with and talking to and the information that's coming in. So it's harder to be objective, it's harder to be more rational about what it is that we're picking up on. When Mercury moves into Aries, it changes that energy. So our brains come back online. We start thinking much more clearly, much more quickly, but it's also an energy where it can be a little overkill. Mercury in the sign of Aries is thinking way too fast. It's talking way too quickly, like Mercury with Mars, like how I have in my chart. It causes people to speak really quickly, to speak at the rate of their thoughts, which can be very fast. And so the downside of this is that you might find that people are saying things really impulsively and putting their foot in their mouth because they maybe didn't have all of the information. They kind of jumped the gun when they were talking about something. So, there is that energy of just needing to take a step back to consciously make sure that you're slowing down your mind, that you're slowing down your speech, that you're thinking before you speak, because there is a chance that you might say something tactlessly, because that is Mercury in the sign of Aries. You might just say something and blurt it out without thinking, and you could hurt somebody in the process, and you might be wrong about what you're thinking, because it could just be a snap judgment. It could just be the first thing that impulsively comes to your mind and you say it, and so that can cause all sorts of problems. And with Mercury and Aries, people can be more prone to being very stubborn and bullheaded and like wanting to really assert their point and their willpower through their language, through their speech, through their communication. And so you'll find with Mercury and Aries that people might be butting heads a little bit more, usually because of the abrasive manner in which people are more likely to be speaking. So just be careful about the way you say things and what you say, and especially this week, because Mercury will move into Aries, and very quickly, actually on Friday, the same day as the full moon, Mercury will come into a conjunction with Chiron. Chiron is wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities, shame, guilt, trauma. And it's also a place where, you know, we can find healing and learn how to heal ourselves, learn how to heal other people. But when we have Mercury coming into this conjunction with Chiron, you know, you might say something in Aries impulsively that might hurt somebody's feelings, that might trigger some sort of past wound, shame, guilt, vulnerability, trauma. And you don't necessarily mean to do this, but this again can cause difficulty. So you want to make sure that you're just being very cautious about what you say, especially when you have very important conversations this week. And you might be having very important conversations, very healing conversations this week. The conversations and information that come in this week can really help to heal through those past wounds that we have in our own lives and in our own charts. It can help us to heal through vulnerabilities, shame, and guilt that are preventing us from asserting our willpower, right? That's Aries, and Chiron in Aries is the wounded will. It's a wound to our ability to assert our independence, to take action in the way that we see fit. And that usually results from past experience and, you know, shame and guilt around maybe being more action oriented, being more in your face, being more blunt. And, you know, doing what you want to do because you want to do it, or saying what you need to say because you feel like you need to say it. And so there does need to be a balance between these two energies. There is going to be a lot that needs to be said, and it is going to feel like, oh my gosh, I need to say this right now with Mercury and Aries. It's just a matter of making sure that the way you're saying it isn't going to hurt other people, or it isn't going to come across in a way that's very abrasive and abrupt, where other people might not be receptive to what you're saying, right? And then in that case, it kind of defeats the purpose, because this is sort of a healing process that we're going through here with our communication. So that's one of the things that's going on here. And then we have this really powerful full moon, as I was mentioning at the start of this video, in the sign of Libra at the 29th degree. And so this is a culmination point, as always, of what was seeded and what began at the start of this lunar cycle, which happened 2 weeks ago with the new moon in Aries, with the new moon in Aries. It also has to do with, the culmination point of an energy that might have been seeded a long time ago as it relates to the Libra area of your chart, which we'll get into when we go into the forecast for all 12 signs. And this is especially significant because we had just a couple weeks ago, a new moon that was in, a bit of a square with Saturn in that conjunction with the South Node, it was Pluto was in the conjunction with the South Node and Saturn there. They're all there together right now. So it's all three of them. We have Saturn, the South Node, Pluto at 20, 22, and 23 degrees in the sign of Capricorn. And I'm actually going to pull this up so you can see this. Right there. So you can see here that we still have this stellium forming because Saturn is slowing down, and next week Pluto will be stationing to go retrograde, and then the following week after that we'll have Saturn stationing to go retrograde, and all of this will be happening in this tight conjunction, which is super, super intense, and that's why we're feeling this oppressive, burdensome energy that is taking hold on a personal level, and we're seeing that in the public sphere as well, more and more so as we get into this buildup of this energy that will be really, really intense next week and the following week. But this week it's being highlighted. You can see here that even though it's not an exact T-square, it's still in a T-square with the full moon in the sign of Libra. And so it's highlighting this energy. It's going to come out into the open, out into the forefront. We just had that Sun square to Saturn and Pluto last week, and we saw, what that was bringing up in our own lives, and we saw what that was bringing up on a more global scale. On a government and corporate level too. That's especially the case when we're looking at Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn, which rules corporations, which rules the government, which rules these governing, restrictive, limiting sorts of bodies, rules, regulations. Those are all going to become heavier and more oppressive in our lives. And this could actually be an energy where it's the culmination point of us focusing on the needs of ourselves versus the needs of other people. That's, Aries versus Libra, coming back into balance in that area. But this could be the culmination point of some sort of situation or project or energy or relationship in our lives that feels just very heavy, very burdensome, very oppressive. And with this, we might reach our breaking point. And this is an ending sort of full moon as well, because it's happening at the 29th degree. And so this could be the culmination point where everything comes to a head, everything comes to a peak. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's way too heavy to carry anymore. We have to let go and restructure and surrender and let go of something that we've been holding on to really tightly in terms of an oppressive entity, an oppressive situation, an oppressive structure, heavy burdens and responsibilities in our lives that are way past their expiration date that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks now, because this is the prominent energy. It's going to last through the end of the month. It's very, very strong. But this could be an energy that really brings it all to a head, especially if you are somebody with your sun, moon, rising, or personal planets in the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. And so anywhere between really 20 and 29 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most. I would say, let's even go to 18 degrees, because Saturn is at that 20th degree, right? Yeah, so Saturn's at the 20th degree still. So anywhere from 18 to 29 degrees, that's a huge span, right? So a lot of people are being impacted by this, and I'm seeing this in, my relationships with friends and family members and what they're going through. I'm definitely seeing this with my clients. So many people, especially who work in corporate settings right now, are coming to me just absolutely hating their jobs and feeling very oppressed and limited and restricted by working in these types of environments. And that's just one way that this can manifest. It could be a relationship. We'll get into that when we get into all 12 signs. And we've been talking about this a little bit already. The good news with this full moon is that Jupiter is involved. So that Jupiter trine to the sun, that beautiful benefic grand trine that we had last week on Sunday, we're still feeling that energy of Jupiter trine to the sun. It's still very close in this full moon configuration. And so letting go and releasing of those burdens, those limitations, those restrictions, that really oppressive energy is definitely going to benefit us in the long run. And what Jupiter does is it instills a sense of optimism. It instills a sense that everything's going to be okay. And it gives you that sort of broad perspective, that bigger vantage point. So that way you can see where this is going and you can see how this connects on a bigger scale. It's not just about what's happening here and now. There might be some sort of short-term crisis or challenge or a delayed gratification involved in this process of letting go, surrendering, restructuring. You might be going through a process that's very scary, where you feel like you're losing control of a certain area of your life that was very structured and very stable for quite some time. But Jupiter is showing us, hey, look at why this is happening. Look at what this can bring you. There might be an important message, a download, some sort of information that comes in. There could be just you having that mindset where you can really see the bigger picture. And that's going to really help to allow us to see things through, allow us to continue on, allow us to keep putting in the hard work that's required here, because Saturn in Capricorn with all of this energy here, it's about empowering yourself by taking responsibility for your role in creating your situation in your life right now. It's not always our fault. It's not always that we've done it and created these situations. That's not what I'm saying. But in one way or another, we do have some control over what's going on, be it our mindset, be it making some sort of change, getting out of a difficult situation. And so this is showing us where we need to take back responsibility, where we need to take back our power and change something that really, really needs to be changed. And that's really what we're working with this week, and that's the main energy. And so we will get into that after that little spiel there for all 12 signs. The final thing, though, that's going to be happening is that Venus will move into Aries. Venus was in Pisces, which is very loving and compassionate and dreamy and romantic and interconnected, and it's kind of wanting to have this deep spiritual bond and connection with other people. When Venus is in Aries, it's kind of like being more direct. It's like, I want what I want and this is how I want it, and telling people exactly how you feel. And so that energy is going to shift a little bit more. It's kind of like that Mercury energy that I just talked about in Aries. So we have these two interpersonal energies with Mercury and with Venus that are going to cause us to be much more blunt and to say things just very upfront and in your face and very directly, which could be a breath of fresh air for a lot of people who tend to operate on that level. But for other people, who are a little bit more sensitive, it might come across as a little harsh. But Venus in the sign of Aries is really great for enhancing our passions and relationship. It helps us to feel lit up and excited. It renews the energy in all of our partnerships, all of our interactions, all of our relationships. And so that is a really nice energy. All right. And then let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. But before we do, I just want to make a couple of quick announcements. First and foremost, my Mastering Saturn webinar is going to be live on May 11th. We're going to be talking all about Saturn, which is an important energy right now, which is why I wanted to do it sometime within this time frame, especially before 2020, because that's when it really, comes to a head. We're going to be talking all about Saturn in the birth chart, your personal Saturn placements, aspects to your natal Saturn, and what that means in terms of the challenges you face, past life experiences, fears and anxieties in this lifetime, and how you can really work with this energy. And I say work because it is work, it's Saturn, but how you can really work with this energy in order to create what you want to create in your life. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I just recently had my Saturn return in a lot of interesting Saturn alignments, and I still am right now with Saturn opposing my moon. And what's interesting about this energy in this time frame is that I started really working with Saturn way before it came into play in all of these areas, and I am seeing so much manifestation of the hard work that I put in, and I really want to share the tricks and tips and techniques that I've learned in dealing with Saturn, so that way other people can get ahead of the game, because Saturn takes time. It takes a lot of effort, slow and steady efforts on a day-to-day basis to get to your long-term goals and plans, to face those challenges. And so the earlier you start, the better. The more you're aware of your Saturn cycles, because everybody's somewhere in their Saturn cycle at any point in time, the more you're aware of that, you're going to have lifelong information that's going to help you to deal with and navigate that energy in the best possible way. And so that's what we're going to be working with there. And in fact, we just moved to a new house, and we actually bought this house, which is something I never thought that I would be able to do, at least not anytime soon. And I have Saturn to thank. So I just wanted to, anyway, I'm getting off track here. Saturn webinar, May 11th. You can register for 30% off if you do so before the webinar takes place. It'll be $10 more after the fact. And also, if you are an Aries or a Taurus, your solar return yearly forecast is now available. The link is down in the description below. You'll get it within 48 hours. It's a very in-depth, detailed forecast for your sun sign, for your personal solar year, which begins with your birthday, aka the solar return. And if you're not an Aries and Taurus, you can pre-order your solar return forecast to receive 25% off, and the link to do so is down in the description below. And of course, if you want to book a personal reading with me, you can also do that down in the description below. And then before we get into the energy of the signs, I do also want to mention that I did a video just a couple of days ago where I discussed how to make the best use of the energy of these general forecasts, because I get a lot of the same questions in every single video that I do, where people are asking, should I listen for this sign, that sign? What about my Placidus chart? What about this is in my first house, but you're saying it's in my second house? My Venus is here. A lot of questions like that. And so I gave a very detailed description of how you can look at your chart. I gave free information for how you can generate your chart and figure out where all of your placements are, so you can get the best possible interpretations, the most nuanced, accurate information that you can from these general forecasts. So I highly recommend, if you haven't watched that, before you listen for your sign, go back, watch that video, so that way you can get a little bit more detail. And so I'll post a link to that down in the description below too. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. So there's Aries. I'm gonna put this all the way there. I'm kind of like being blocked by these images here. They're a little too big, or maybe I'm a little too close. Anyway, for Aries and for Aries rising, I'm trying to figure out where to position myself. There we go. For Aries and for Aries rising, the energy of this full moon is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. So this is the culmination point of an energy that was seated either earlier this month or maybe in years past, but it's an energy that was seated involving important like long-term committed partnerships. This is you focusing so for the past month, the sun has been in your sign. So the light has been on you, Aries. So you've been focusing on your needs, your self-interest, the things that you love to do, the way that you express yourself out in the world, your personality, your persona, your self-care. And now is a time where there's a coming back into balance between focusing on your needs and the needs of the people that you care about. And so you might have to, compromise a little bit, let go of focusing on something that you really wanted in favor of your partnerships, right? In favor of what your partner wants, in favor of what your friend wants, in favor of what your coworker or business partner or what your clients want. And so that's part of the energy here. I would say though that especially for Aries rising, and especially if you have your sun, moon, or ascendant sign near that 29th degree, so anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees, this is going to be a culmination point of something that was seated involving an important partnership, an important contract, or an important relationship. That relationship, partnership, or contract might be subject to a little bit of change. It might be needing some transformation right now. It might be feeling a little oppressive. You might be feeling a little limited, burdened, and restricted in your relationships this week, and this could bring that all to a head, especially in important work-related or career-related relationships with authority figures, relationships with bosses, or if you are in a position of authority, this might be sort of hindering or limiting or restricting your relationships in one way or another with coworkers or in your personal life. And so there might be some changes that you need to make in this area. Jupiter is going to be showing you exactly why you're making these changes and what the end goal is, what the bigger picture is in these areas. And so if you're having trouble with your work, if you're having a lot of oppressive, difficult energy there, I would suggest reaching out to somebody that you care about, bouncing ideas off of somebody else, getting an outside perspective, because you might have been very much focused on your own experience in this, maybe even focusing on your own suffering or the difficulties. And now's a time when you can get an outside perspective a lot more easily. You can really get really powerful insight and really good information and just a newfound perspective on the situation if you're reaching out to other people. Also reaching out to teachers, looking to your moral or ethical or religious belief systems for guidance to make sure that what you're doing and the changes that you're making are within your integrity. That's going to be really important as well. With that Mercury conjunction to Chiron occurring in your 11th house, in your 12th house, this could be an important communication that comes in that helps you to release some sort of spiritual blockage, some sort of old wound, shame, vulnerability, guilt, or insecurity around religion, spirituality, or around your ability to just rest and relax and spend time in solitude and seclusion. And so, paying attention to that this week will be important as well. You can have a lot of deep subconscious inner healing going on. But the main energy this week is having to do with relationships, and especially letting go of, surrendering, and restructuring any relationships that feel burdensome or oppressive or just feel very heavy, there could potentially be power struggles and power and control issues in relationship as well. And again, that's showing you where you need to restructure and where you need to change something. All right, and for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So this is happening in, this is happening in your 6th house, this new moon, full moon. I'm a little all over the place today, aren't I? So this full moon is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health. It's the house of hard work. It's the house of daily routines. And so for Taurus rising people in particular, this could be a very busy week for you where you have to work really hard in pursuit of your long-term goals, your plans. You could be working really hard on a day-to-day basis. You're just going to be very busy. Anytime you have a really intense 6th house activation like this, it's usually a very busy week. There could be some challenges going on this week, though, where you need to come back into balance between focusing on your inner world, your spiritual exploration, your spiritual well-being, and focusing on what you need in a more physical way. So focusing on your health, focusing on your nutrition, focusing on exercise, and making sure that you're taking care of your body. This could also be a need to focus more on your work, right? And that's what I'm saying in terms of, it might be a busy week. You might have been spending more time away from the world in contemplation, figuring out what you believe on a spiritual level, on a moral level, on a religious level, what you value in the 9th house. Maybe you've been learning about different spiritual disciplines. Maybe you've been working on breaking free from dogmatic, old belief systems that are really hindering you from moving forward into something new. And so this is a week where this is going to be highlighted. And this is probably a week where your day-to-day routines, you might reach a breaking point. There might be a culmination point of this energy where it sort of reaches its peak and your daily routines start to feel very oppressive, and it feels like you're not living on a day-to-day basis in alignment with your integrity and with what you truly value on a broader, more expansive level, right? What you truly value on a philosophical, religious, spiritual level. And so paying attention to that is going to be important. So there's a coming back into balance in all of these areas here, and you're being challenged to let go of something in terms of your daily habits and routines that's hindering you from acting in alignment with your integrity when it comes to your work, and when it comes to your learning processes, when it comes to your belief systems, when it comes to what you value. And so that's going to be an important energy, right? Taurus is also going to be having this Jupiter. So going deeper, this is a really deep introspective week for Taurus. Even though it is going to be very busy, the things that come up for you on a day-to-day basis are really going to have you thinking and pondering and kind of going deep and yearning for deeper exploration, yearning for deeper meaning. And, something can actually help you out this week coming from an outside source. So it could be that with Jupiter in your 8th house coming into this sextile with the moon and this trine with the sun, you could find solace and reprieve from your day-to-day struggles and your day-to-day routines through an outside source of income that comes in through investments, inheritance, other people's money, or a loan or something like that allows you a little bit more time and a little bit more wiggle room, so you're not working so hard, or so you're not having to do something that's not in alignment with your value system and your beliefs in order to just make some money. This could also be you finding deeper meaning and deeper purpose in your work and aligning yourself with that, right? So looking at finding something deeper, finding a deeper meaning behind what it is that you're doing. This Mercury conjunction to Chiron is happening in your 11th house. And so there could be an important communication that comes in this week through your friendships, through your social networks, through even social media, through a group that you belong to, maybe some sort of group or club or organization that causes you to see things in a different way, that brings up that kind of pokes at some old wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities, some old guilt or shame around your ability to connect with the group. You might feel maybe more like an outsider due to some sort of message or communication or the language somebody uses. But this is an opportunity for you to look at that and to heal through it and to assert yourself within the group. This is the wrong sign. Guys, I don't know what I did here. I drew this wrong. That's not true. Mercury is going to be in your 12th house with Chiron. I apologize for that. So don't listen to what I just said. I would go back and redo this or edit it, but my iMovie right now is not letting me process videos that I have edited, which is why I haven't been doing edits on any of these videos. And so if I start something, I can't stop it and then splice it together, and I can't edit anything out because it's just not working, and then this whole thing is wasted. So I do apologize for that. It's not in your 11th house. That's actually occurring in your 12th house, which is the house that we were just talking about. And so you could get an important message involving an important message that could come through dreams, that could come through visions, that could come through meditation, that helps you through some sort of deep internal healing process, healing through old spiritual wounds, healing through old wounds involving religion, isolation, right? Because that's the 12th house too, or guilt or shame around rest and reprieve and spending time focusing on your needs and your inner world. And so that's what's going on for Taurus. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, This is all occurring in, let's see here, so the full moon is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of play, fun, romance. It's where you go to have fun. It's where you go to experience joy. And so for you, Gemini, this full moon is highlighting the need to maybe experience more joy, to go out to have fun. This is a good time to just go out and enjoy yourself, to do something that you love to do because you love to do it. This is a great time to enjoy romance and to go out, with a partner, or to go out on some sort of date. Just know that there could be power struggles and there could be some sort of difficulty, limitation, or restriction that prevents you from fully enjoying yourself when you're out and about. It could be that there's some sort of power struggle going on in an important relationship, especially a romantic partnership, where there's a power struggle involving money. There's a power struggle involving like power and control issues. There's something there that you have to restructure, that you have to let go of. It could be that you're, relying on a partner's resources. It could be difficulties and issues involving child support, which is, 8th house and 5th house things. The 5th house is children. 8th house is money that comes from an outside source, or like an alimony payment or something like that. There could be power struggles coming up involving children or your relationship to children. And so that is something that you might be dealing with this week, and it might all come to a head. It might all come to a culmination point. But your relationships with the people that you care about are what's going to see you through this time that could potentially be a little bit of a crisis. It could potentially be a little bit difficult. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But romance, like I said before, going out with somebody that you care about, spending time doing things that you love to do with the people that you love to do them with, that's going to be a really great way to gain a better sense of perspective. And connecting with people this week is really going to help you to let go of all the limitations, restrictions, burdens, structures, oppressive energy that's preventing you from truly finding your joy. And with Mercury in a conjunction with Chiron in your 11th house, it's in your 11th house actually for Gemini, there could be an important message that comes in through your friends, through your social networks, through even social media, through groups of people that you surround yourself with by choice, clubs and organizations that you're a part of, that dredges up, some sort of fear, wound, guilt, shame, vulnerability, an old trauma. It kind of pokes at it as it relates to your ability to connect with a group, to sort of merge your energy with the energy of other people, to fit in. And so you might feel like an outcast or an outsider due to the message that comes through, or due to something that somebody just says to you offhandedly. And but know that this is an opportunity for you to recognize this, to look at it, and to heal through it moving forward. So you're consciously able to analyze the situation and the root cause of this sense of guilt, or this sense of shame, or this trauma, or the uncomfortable, awkward energy that comes about, and to really work through it on a conscious level. All right, and for Cancer rising. So this full moon is happening in your 4th house of the home and family, which is an important area for Cancer. And so you've been going through, first off, there's been a lot of focus on your career and your public status, a lot of new developments potentially, or a lot of recognition, or just a lot of energy around focusing on work lately, because you've had the sun transiting through the sign of Aries for an entire month. And so this has been a lot of energy highlighting the need to work, the need to put yourself out there, the need to get recognition through the work that you're doing and through the energy that you're putting out there into the world. And now's the time where you can come back into balance by focusing on your roots, focusing on your home, your family, your property, getting your ducks in a row in that respect, focusing on what you come home to after work. And so taking some time to spend with family, to spend with people that you care about, can actually be a very healing, very beneficial experience that can benefit you in terms of your career as well, because you might be experiencing some sort of power struggle, some sort of difficulty, some sort of oppressive energy as it relates to work-related relationships, contracts related to work, or to your home, or to your property, or you could be experiencing power struggles and difficulties and challenging energies this week involving your family structure as well, where relationships with family members could be strained. They could feel oppressive and burdensome. It could feel like your mother or your father or somebody in your immediate family environment is trying to control you, is trying to oppress you, is trying to, enforce too many rules, restrictions, regulations, and limit you in some sort of way. And so this is the time when that might come to a head, and you might need to have an important conversation, or you might need to let go or restructure a relationship with a close family member. This could be the same thing when it comes to bosses, when it comes to people in positions of power and authority figures. And, by doing this, it's going to give you more breathing room, so that way you're not so stressed out and burdened by your work and by what your superiors think, or whatever it is, or what your corporation thinks about what it is that you're doing. You can focus more of your energy on your home and your family and what matters most. And then the energy with Jupiter here. So if you are having difficulties and struggles at work, looking to your coworkers as a source of support. They can give you a newfound sense of perspective on your situation, changing your daily habits and routines in a way that gives you more freedom, that makes you feel like you're less burdened by your work. Incorporating spirituality, incorporating adventure, incorporating learning new skill sets into your day-to-day routines, incorporating anything that improves on your health, that improves on your overall well-being is going to help you to feel much less burdened and much more in balance in all areas of life, but especially when it comes to your family situation, your work situation, and your relationships. So focusing more on the details, on the day-to-day, is going to give you a sense of perspective instead of focusing on, I have all these big problems out here, they're all over the place. Focusing on, okay, well, this is what I'm doing today. Today I'm going to do some yoga. Today I'm going to eat this apple instead of this brownie. Today I'm going to have a really nice conversation with my coworker, and guess what? I learned something new about my organization and I feel better, right? So that's the type of energy this week. For Cancer rising, you also have this conjunction between Mercury and Chiron in Aries, which is also in your 10th house. And so there could be a communication, a message, an idea or thought that comes in. It could just be an invasive thought that dredges up some old wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities, shame, guilt, trauma, awkward energy around your career, your public status, and your reputation out in the world. And so, if that does come up for you, this is going to be an opportunity for you to consciously analyze what it is that's coming up and why it's affecting you in the way that it's affecting you. And so this is a healing opportunity, and it's probably going to be something more minor than major, unless you have your Aries ascendant around, what is it, it's at 3 degrees in the sign of Aries, your Aries midheaven around 3 degrees in the sign of Aries, in which case it might be something a little bit more major that's triggered. But for most Cancer rising people, it'll be like a minor slight, and it'll be like maybe somebody saying something the wrong way and you taking it the wrong way and taking it harshly and feeling guilty or bad about it. And so just looking at why you feel this way and what the root cause is, that's going to help to consciously analyze and heal through whatever it is that's coming up for you. For Leo and for Leo rising, this full moon energy is occurring in your 3rd house, which is the house of communication. And so this could be the culmination point of an important idea, an important marketing endeavor, an important communication contract. This could be the culmination point of some sort of bureaucratic endeavor where you've been having to fill out a lot of paperwork and things like that, and especially the culmination point of some sort of educational pursuit. With the sun moving through your 9th house, there may have been a focus over the course of this last month on what's going on externally, on developing new knowledge and learning through experience. This is Leo, by the way. There you go. Developing new knowledge through experience. There could have been some travel going on, some opportunities to connect with people in foreign countries or with people from different backgrounds, to expand your horizons, to expand your wisdom through experience and through, connecting with people from outside cultures. This could also have been you focusing on higher education, higher educational pursuits, your beliefs, your philosophies on life. Now is the time to take all of that learning and experience and turn it into something more practical that you can utilize in terms of your thought processes, mindset, and communication on a day-to-day basis. There could be a very oppressive energy that's coming in through your 6th house where it feels like your day-to-day routines and burdens and struggles are just too much. It's overpowering, it's very intense and overbearing, and this could be preventing you from utilizing a more expansive, optimistic mindset. This could be preventing you from communicating and acting on a day-to-day basis within your integrity, and this is an area where there does need to be some restructuring. So this could highlight the need to restructure your day-to-day health routines, your day-to-day work routines, in order to create space for you to learn something new, to grow, to expand your horizons, to take more vacations, to take more trips. That could be part of it too. Jupiter in the 5th house is actually helping you here. So focusing on the things that you love to do because you love to do them. Focusing on play, focusing on joy, focusing on romance, going out, having a good time, doing the things that you love to do. That's going to be a really important way for you to gain perspective if you're feeling a little intense or tense this week. If you feel like your day-to-day habits have gotten out of hand, they've gotten out of control, it's gotten too burdensome where you don't have time for joy and to experience the things that you love to do, or to engage in creative self-expression, to spend time with your children, to spend time in play, to spend time out and about with your partner. Now is a time to really take back the reins, to restructure your day-to-day habits so that way you can expand on that 5th house area and experience much more joy. The energy of Mercury conjunct Chiron is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of beliefs. It's the house of religious, philosophical, moral values and belief systems. It is the house of teachers, foreign travel. It's the house of sort of the bigger picture and broader perspective on life. And so you could have an important communication, message, lesson that comes in from somebody from a foreign country, that comes in from somebody who you consider to be a teacher. There could be just an idea that comes into your head that challenges your beliefs about something, but there is going to be something that's dredged up involving potentially some sort of fear, anxiety, insecurity, awkwardness, shame, guilt, vulnerability around your belief system, or around religion and religious figures, or around teachers, or around yourself as a teacher, and your ability to impart wisdom and to communicate effectively with other people. And if that does come up, this is an opportunity for you to analyze it very consciously, to work through it on that analytical, rational level, and to heal through, whatever the root cause is of whatever's being triggered. All right. And for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this energy is happening in your 2nd house of finance. So this could be the culmination point of an important financial pursuit that was initiated at the beginning of this month or a long time ago. There is an energy here of needing to come back into balance between focusing on things that disempower you, especially as it relates to finances. So especially as it relates to debt, to other people's money, to inheritance, to taxes, to joint finances, and to focus more on the way that you create resources for yourself through your own efforts and your own hard work. This could be the culmination point and sort of the peak of an energy involving a financial situation, especially if there's some sort of power struggle or difficulty or burden involved in that financial situation, or you might be a lot more easily able to work through it, to let it go, to see it clearly, and to gain a sense of perspective on what's going on in your life, so that way you can have an easier time moving forward. If you are going through some sort of difficult energy involving finances, involving material possessions, especially as it relates to children, the father of your children if you're a female, as it relates to romantic partnerships, or as it relates to your inability to really enjoy yourself and enjoy life because of financial difficulties, looking to your family members as a source of support or a source of inspiration, or at least just talking to them and maybe getting a broader, more expansive sense of perspective where you can understand the situation a little bit better, where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, where you can see where the results will come in from the hard work and the efforts that you're putting in on releasing, letting go, restructuring, so you can create a better situation for yourself on a financial level and a better balance there, but also romantically, or with your children, or with your ability to just enjoy yourself and enjoy life. Connecting with family, spending time at home, spending time focusing on your roots, maybe even looking into your ancestors and your family history. That could give you a sense of perspective as well, and it can help you to understand a little bit better what you're going through. But definitely spending time at home, that's where you're going to have the really good energy, and some sort of, really important financial pursuit that involves your home or your property or your family members, that could come through this week. And so the results of all of your hard work may be suppressing your ability to go out and do the things that you love to do because you wanted to save money. That might pay off, and it might benefit you and your family. So this is a week where that could reach a culmination point as well. The energy of Mercury with Chiron is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debts, it's the house of power struggles, it's the house of money that comes through an outside source and joint finances, it's the house of death and rebirth. So if you have any fears, guilt, anxiety, insecurities, shame, vulnerability around death, that could come up. There could be an important message or conversation that comes up that causes you to have to look at that. Also involving joint finances. Maybe you feel ashamed of, the debt that you're in, or maybe you feel ashamed of having to rely on somebody else's resources and somebody says something and that brings it up. This could also bring, of any sort of deep traumas from your past that could come up in unexpected ways through an important idea, insight, or communication. And if that is the case, this is the time where you can analyze it, where you can look at it logically, and you can really pinpoint the root cause of whatever it is that's being triggered, so that way you can heal through it moving forward. All right. And then for Libra and Libra rising. So this energy here with the full moon is happening in your sign. And so especially if you are a Libra rising from 25 to 30 degrees in the sign of Libra, this full moon is going to be happening on your ascendant. And so this is all about you. So over the past month, you've had the sun transiting through the sign of Aries in your 7th house. The 7th house is the house of relationships. And so there's been a heavy focus on contracts, on commitments, on relationships with other people, romantic or otherwise. And so you've been focusing a lot on the needs of others. And now's a time when you can come back into balance by focusing on your needs, your self-interest, what you truly want, and your own self-care. And so now's an important time to do that, especially at the end of this week on Friday and into the weekend. This is an energy here where there could be some sort of difficulty, some sort of really oppressive energy when it comes to your home, your family, your property, that might be preventing you from being able to focus on what you need and what you desire and your own self-interest. Maybe there's something that's going on in your family situation behind the scenes that's really preventing you from being who you are and expressing yourself through your personality out in the world effectively, from getting recognition, right? Maybe there's something going on in your romantic life that's preventing you from getting the recognition you need, or a really important business partnership. And so there's a restructuring that needs to happen there. But really this is coming from your roots, this is coming from your family, this is coming from your home life, and it's coming from behind the scenes or from some sort of emotional place. But what really needs to happen here is a restructuring, right? So we talked about this in the past couple of weeks, and letting go of something that doesn't serve you in order to create a better structure and a better platform for yourself to grow from moving forward. In this case, in this week, it's going to be involving your own self-interest and balancing that between the needs of people that you're in relationship with. The other thing too is that there could be a lot of really beneficial energy that could come in through communication. So you could get really important messages that give you better insight or a broader, more expansive perspective on your situation, so you can see things more clearly. And so you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you can perceive what the end results might be for all of the hard work that you're putting in restructuring these areas of your life. This is where you could get a lot of really good fortune, and a lot of really good energy can come from just getting away, taking a day trip, right? That is Jupiter in Sagittarius in the 3rd house. So getting away, but not too far away, traveling somewhere close by, that can give you a sense of perspective, learning a new skill set, investigating things, communicating with people, especially communicating with siblings, extended family members, neighbors, people in your community, or just getting involved in your community this weekend can give you a better sense of perspective, and a lot of really great benefits can come to you through doing so. When it comes to Chiron, Chiron is in a conjunction with Mercury in your 7th house. And so especially for Libra rising people with their rising sign within the first 5 degrees of Libra, you're going to be experiencing this really intensely on your descendant. And so this can bring up some sort of important communication in a relationship, or in some sort of close friendship, business partnership, even a close family relationship that brings up some old wounds, guilt, shame, vulnerability, insecurity around relationships, around contracts, around obligations to other people, where you're going to have to look at it, right? And so the awkward energy that comes about because of that communication, or the shame or the guilt that you feel, or the triggering that this has on you in terms of past trauma in relationships, this is something to really look at, because you can really analyze it and understand it on a rational level, and you can really get to the bottom, to the root cause of what's going on, so that way you can work through this energy and heal through it moving forward. All right, and for Scorpio rising, there you are. So for Scorpio rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 12th house. So this is the second full moon in a row happening in your 12th house. And the full moon in the 12th house, yes, it is a culmination point. Yes, it is something happening more physical, but usually it's the culmination point in the 12th house. It's more of an energy of going inward, even though it's like the full moon and it's bright and it's expressive and all of that. And so this is a time where, you've probably been very busy over the course of the last month with the sun moving through your 6th house. That's usually a very busy time where you've been working really hard in terms of your day-to-day work routines, in terms of your day-to-day habits. Just on a day-to-day basis, you might feel like you've been very busy and working really hard and having a lot to do. You could be working on your health habits and improving your health. And now's a time where you can turn inward, where you can spend more time in solitude, seclusion, away from the world, and where you can come back into balance by focusing on your spiritual well-being as in addition to your physical well-being. And especially if you've been working really hard, now is a really great time to release, to let go, and to spend some time away from the world. There could be a challenge to that comes through communication. It could be that you feel oppressed and burdened by too many emails, too many text messages, too much communication coming in. It could be that you are, in some sort of educational pursuit that feels very burdensome and very oppressive and very difficult to move forward with. It could even be your mindset, right? Because this is the 3rd house, it's the house of your mindset. And so with the Saturn-Pluto South Node conjunction, you're really working on releasing negative mental patterns that burden you and that oppress you and that limit you from reaching your full potential. And so letting go of that energy is really going to help you to restructure and to move forward. And so you have this opportunity here to really seek solitude, to really seek solace in your spirituality, to really spend more time away from the world and to rest. But you have to really break through those mental blocks and let go of caring so much about. Also, this is you restructuring, if you own a business, restructuring your marketing plan, or restructuring in a way that allows you to feel less oppressed by all of the messages and social media and this and that and the other thing. And in general, this would be a great time for Scorpio rising. This is what I suggest. Maybe I'll do this. I'm a Scorpio rising. I could use one of these. Do a digital detox during this time frame. That would be the best way to utilize this energy, especially if you feel like you can't, especially if you feel like you're way overburdened by technology and by communication and by all these things that are going on in your life. This would be a really great weekend for just to get away from the world and to turn off all of your devices and all of that. Where you can actually find really good energy this week is, so by coming back into balance, a lot of good fortune can come to you financially. You have Jupiter transiting your 2nd house. And so this can help you to get a broader, more expansive perspective on all the hard work that you've been doing. You can start to see results for all of the efforts and hard work that you've been putting in on a financial level. This is a time where maybe you can indulge and spend a little bit of money to go on some sort of spiritual retreat or do something that's going to help you to feel good or spend time away from the world. This could be something along those lines for you. And then for that Mercury conjunction to Chiron, and so that restructuring of your mindset is going to help you out financially, and it's going to help you with your day-to-day routines and all that too. But Chiron conjunct Mercury is happening in your 6th house of health, and so this could be an important message that comes through from a healthcare provider or from somebody involving your work, like a coworker or a client or something along those lines, that causes you to feel a sense of guilt, shame, vulnerability, awkwardness, insecurity, that brings up old wounds and old traumas around health, around your nutrition, around your daily routines, or around your work. And it could be that you feel guilty for taking time out, right? That's part of this energy where you need to take time out. And so looking at that, because maybe somebody says something to you like, oh, you're taking a vacation right now. One of your coworkers is judging you from taking a personal day or something like that. Now's the time to look at why that bothers you, right? Why does that bother you? What is the root cause of this shame or this guilt or this awkward energy? And this is a time where you can consciously work through that moving forward, so that way you don't have to deal with it so much. So it's a time of healing. Let's see here. So Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this is a full moon happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, groups of people that you surround yourself with by choice. And so this could be the culmination point of something that was seeded a long time ago involving joining a group, right? Involving your friends, your social networks, the people that you love to be around. This could be a really nice time for you to spend time, within a group, or to join an organization or something along those lines. Or this could be a time where maybe you need to restructure and you need to let go of a certain group of people or a certain organization or group that you're a part of, because it's just not working out for you in terms of a couple different things here. So you have this energy here where Saturn and Pluto are in your second house, and so there's a restructuring going on here in terms of your finances, in terms of the way that you create resources for yourself, where you might be feeling very burdened and oppressed by the financial system, where you might be feeling burdened and oppressed by debt, where you might be feeling burdened and oppressed by your bosses in the way that you create resources for yourself. Maybe it's not in alignment with your integrity, which is important for Sagittarius, and we talked about this last week. And so it could be that your financial situation, or you feel as though your financial situation, is hindering you from joining that group or doing that altruistic humanitarian type of pursuit in your free time, because maybe you want to work overtime instead. And, now's not the time to do that. Now's the time to really let go of anything that's overly burdensome, overly oppressive when it comes to your financial situation, to make space for you to enjoy spending time with your friends, to enjoy getting out there, to spend time doing charitable work or volunteer work or whatever it is that you want to do within a group, because you want to do it because it's enjoyable for you, or it's meaningful for you in some sort of way. Now's a time where a lot of great benefits can come to you through engaging with your friends and your social networks. And in general, you have Jupiter in your sign being highlighted by this full moon. And so I would say that, especially if you're a Sagittarius, sun, moon, rising at the end degrees, so anywhere, really from like 20 to 28 degrees, I would say 20 to 30 degrees, because this is involving the full moon as well. You're going to be having that Jupiter energy highlighted on your ascendant, on your sun, on your moon. And so this could be a very powerful, beneficial time for you, where you can benefit personally from connecting with groups of people and from getting out there and joining that club or that organization that you've been thinking about joining but have been holding back on for whatever reason. And this is a time where you can come back into balance between focusing on your creative pursuits and the things that you love to do because you love to do them, and focusing on the group, and maybe joining a group that is involved in the things that you love to do, your passions, right? Expressing your passions within a group. That would be a really great way to utilize this full moon energy. Mercury conjunct Chiron is occurring in your 5th house, which is the house of children. It's the house of play. It's the house of joy. It's the house of creative self-expression. And so you could get a message, a communication, or even a thought that's invasive that comes in and that causes you to feel guilt, shame, vulnerability, insecurity around your situation with your children or the father of your children, if that's applicable for you. Guilt, shame, vulnerability, difficulty, trauma, past wounds being dredged up around your ability to enjoy yourself. Maybe you feel guilty about doing the things that you love to do, and that comes up for you. Or maybe somebody shames you for your passions and your creative pursuits. And so taking a look at that and why that's bothering you and the root cause of why this irks you so much is really going to help you to heal through the root cause of that experience, right? And so this is a time where you can very rationally and logically analyze what's going on and heal through these issues. All right, and then for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. Where are you? There you are. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in your 10th house of career and public status. And so this is a time when you might be reaching the culmination point of some sort of important pursuit involving your career. You could be getting some sort of recognition from a boss or somebody in a position of power and authority. Or, you could even get a promotion or some additional responsibility that's placed on you, but it can feel much more burdensome. It could be the culmination point of what you've been working for, but it feels more oppressive and more difficult and more oppressive than you thought it would. And you could also be involved in power and control issues within your family unit or within your workspace. And so these are all potentials that could be coming up right now. For Capricorn in particular, working through, so first off, working to let go of any energy for Capricorns, especially if you're a Capricorn sun, moon, and rising between the 18th and 30th degrees in the sign of Capricorn. For this week in particular, this is the time where you need to release and let go and start to work on getting rid of oppressive structures in all areas of your life, oppressive relationships, oppressive power dynamics that are not working for you and that are hindering your ability to move through life in the way that you see fit. But where you can really find solace this week is by spending time away from the world, spending time in meditation, spending time in solitude, seclusion, going on some sort of spiritual retreat. Spending time just away from the day-to-day grind and day-to-day reality is really going to help you to gain a sense of perspective and a deeper understanding of your situation, and it's going to benefit you very greatly moving forward. And and you might have been focusing a lot of your energy this month around your home, your family, your property, family dynamics, important projects in the home, and now's the time where you can come back into balance by, focusing a little bit more energy on your career growth and all of that. And so you might have to work through some stuff to do that, and you might have to spend some time in contemplation in order to utilize that energy in the best possible way, but it's there and it's available to you, and you might get some sort of recognition. It just might feel a little bit heavier than you might have expected it to, like, wow, I got the promotion, but now I have all this work to do, that kind of thing. And then for that Chiron energy with Mercury, Mercury conjunct Chiron is also in your 4th house, and so this is going to be bringing up through some sort of message communication or just invasive thoughts that come in involving old deep-seated wounds, involving your upbringing, involving your family, involving your early childhood environment or home life, where some sort of guilt, shame, vulnerability, insecurity, or awkwardness, feeling like an outsider within your family, that could be part of it too. Maybe, a family member says something to you that makes you feel uncomfortable, and looking at what comes up around that energy is going to be very important this week, because you can very consciously analyze it and work through it and, heal through whatever it is that comes up for you. All right, and then Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius rising, this energy with the full moon is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of foreign travel. It's the house of your beliefs, your philosophies about God, the universe, the world around you, all of that. And so this is a week where maybe you've been focusing a lot on day-to-day communications. Maybe you've been learning a new skill set and you've been really focused on studying and your education. Maybe you've been having just a ton of communication and paperwork and different things on that level that have been coming up for you. Maybe you've been traveling around a lot in your immediate environment, having a lot of commute going on, taking short trips and things like that. Now's the time when you can come back into balance by focusing on the bigger picture, the broader perspective. You can take a long distance trip to gain some sort of perspective on life. You can balance what you've been learning on a grassroots sort of base level in terms of practical skill sets with a broader, bigger picture in terms of the applicability of what it is that you've been learning. This is a time where you're going to gain a sense of perspective. You're going to be able to step outside of yourself and see the bigger picture in all areas of your life, where you can focus more on higher learning, higher education, your religious and philosophical belief systems. There could be something that's going on here that, especially behind the scenes, maybe a past life experience or somebody who's working behind the scenes, or some sort of subconscious energy that feels very oppressive and very heavy and very limiting, that's preventing you from seeing things from that expansive outside perspective this week. And if that is the case, this is the time to really work through and surrender and to let go of those blockages, so that way you can create better structures for yourself and your belief systems and your thought processes moving forward. For this Jupiter energy, a lot of really great benefits can come to you with this full moon in your 9th house through connecting with groups of people, especially groups of people in foreign countries, friends who live in foreign countries, connecting with people in different areas via the internet even, because this is the 11th house, but connecting with your friends in general, going out there, having an adventure, doing something really fun, traveling with your friends or traveling with a group can be a very freeing, liberating, empowering experience that can really help you to get that sense of perspective that you need in order to break through, in order to align yourself with your integrity in everything that you do, and in order to get that perspective that you need this week. So this is a really beneficial week to go out and to have fun, to have an adventure, to travel. The other thing that's happening is that you have this Chiron conjunction to Mercury in your third house. And so you could have a communication that comes in, a message, or maybe even just some like thoughts that are a little bit unwanted that challenge your intelligence, right? That challenge your perception of intelligence. And so you could have some sort of shame, guilt, vulnerability, awkwardness, old wounds, old traumas that are being dredged up around your ability to communicate effectively, around your intelligence and feeling smart or good enough, around your ideas, and maybe somebody questions your ideas or says something that makes you feel bad about your ideas or the information that you're sharing. And looking at this in a very conscious way is going to be an important process for healing through the root cause of whatever it is that's being dredged up. So you'll be able to look at it very analytically and very rationally in order to sort of get to the bottom of things and to heal moving forward. All right, and then for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of, why is this not going? Oh, it is there. This is happening in your 8th house, the house of joint finances, of inheritance, of investments, of power and control issues, of death, of sex, of transformation and rebirth. And so this is a time where you've probably over the course of the last month been focusing a lot on your finances, on your budget, you could have gotten some sort of recognition, especially last week on a financial level, where you might have gotten, a raise or some sort of money coming in unexpectedly. Now's a time where you're going to be focusing a little bit less on material and physical matters and focusing more on what's going on behind closed doors, behind the scenes. This could be a very intense emotional experience for you with the moon being in Libra in your 8th house. This is where you're going to be having to look at more about your habits and your unconscious routines, or not routines, but your unconscious habits, your unconscious compulsions and fixations and obsessions. Those might come up to the surface for you to look at and to work through. This energy is going to, there could potentially be some sort of power struggle or some sort of difficulty coming up involving finances that has to do with groups of people or an organization that you're part of, or even a charitable organization where maybe it's time for you to sort of let go of certain relationships, certain friendships, and certain connections to groups because it feels more oppressive and heavy and difficult, and it's impacting you on a financial level as well, and that could be part of it too. And that where the really good energy can be coming in for you this week, Pisces, is in your 9th house. And so taking a trip, going on a little adventure, spending time, with people from foreign countries, or doing something adventurous, different, outside of the norm, that's really going to help you to gain perspective. Engaging in a new higher educational pursuit, that could be something that could really help broaden your horizons. Focusing on your moral, ethical, religious value systems and aligning yourself with your integrity, especially in the way that you spend your money, that's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial for you this week and especially into this weekend. The energy of Mercury conjunct Chiron is happening in your 2nd house of finance, and so there could be some sort of message or information or even some invasive thoughts that come in that bring up some sort of old shame, guilt, vulnerability, insecurity, awkwardness around resources and around money. And so if you feel insecure about your finances, if you feel guilty about spending money, if you feel guilty about receiving money, if somebody's judging you for the way that you spend your paycheck, these are all things that could come up for you and that could irk you. And so if that is the case, taking a look at that and really following it down to the root cause of why this is coming up for you and why you feel this way is an important process that you can go through right now that can really help you to heal in a very logical, analytical way, in a very conscious way that can help you to heal through some sort of deeper wound, some sort of deeper vulnerability that is hiding beneath the surface that's impacting your ability to enjoy your physical resources, right? All right. And so that's what's going on here for all 12 signs. I don't even know where the thing is to make this go away. There we go. All right. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't already done so and you like listening to these forecasts, please subscribe to my channel with the little red button below. And as always, you can book a reading with me if you want a more personalized reading. The link to do that is down in the description below. And I will see you guys all next week. Bye.